I'm going to continue with the second part of the session I did yesterday, which is mandates and blueprints. Sons arise, the cry of the Father's heart. He wants us to engage him, come into our inheritance, and as mature sons. Looked at this blueprint, which is the blueprint that we have as an ecclesia here and a ministry. And there are different aspects of that which we've developed over the years. Sometimes people say, well, does a blueprint stay the same? From God's perspective, yes, but from our perspective, it can evolve as we understand it better and our maturity increases and we begin to understand it. So the basic shape of our blueprint has stayed the same, but our understanding has deepened, and therefore it's been sort of slightly tinkered with to make it more understandable from God's perspective. A friend of ours in the US, this is their blueprint. They have a blueprint for OEaiH, and for their blueprint, they have different perspectives of different houses working for the four faces of God and different mountains and different things. They have a set of values that they connect to, relationship, responsibility with their blueprint. The question I'd like to add, is do you have a mandate to establish something on earth as it is in heaven? Do you have a blueprint to build from? How clear is your blueprint? Could you explain it so simply that anyone could be able to understand it? How do you develop an initial concept to a point where people can resonate with it and understand it? Because sometimes we get an idea or a concept which we don't necessarily have fully developed. And there is a way that we can go and engage to develop it. So I engaged the angel Prudence in a meeting once. She came and engaged with me, and she gave me 7 gifts. And then I asked God, what was this about? And someone actually saw it in the spirit and painted a picture of her. But I asked him, what was those 7 gifts? And he said, the 7 gifts will enable you to navigate dimensions that are to be opened. So this was about navigating dimensional places or realms of heaven. And there was a sextant, a compass, a logbook. There were some maps. There was an instrument for wind and sound. There was an instrument for waves and light. And there was a trumpet in heralding call. There was a trumpet to call and herald a call. So those were these 7 things. And I took them, as you do when you receive things as gifts. You place them within you. And then they begin to change how you do things, because all of a sudden you are able to see things, engage things that you didn't before. And this was very helpful to me. So God said this, son, I'm calling you to a new level of governmental authority. It is time to come near to me, and the heights of wisdom will be opened. And I have given you the strategic instruments to plot the course ahead. My scroll has a large ship on the front of it. And that originally was an anchor. And actually now the anchor is weighed and it's moving. So navigation and navigation instruments sort of connect to my scroll and to my destiny. So they made sense to me when I saw the context to it within my overall destiny. So Prudence will partner with you to create the protocols that will open the doors and release my people into their positions of true heavenly authority. I first discovered Wisdom's Pillars in 2010. When I first went into the realms of heaven, it was one of the places that Jesus took me, and it was an amazing thing. And I put my hand into the blue pillar that was there, and I sensed something, but I was a bit scared and I didn't go into it. A friend of mine, Henry Ewald, who's from the northwest of the US, had some revelation about this. He explored these Wisdom's Pillars further, and God showed him, and wisdom engaged with him to show him that you can use Wisdom's Pillars to help with a process of developing a blueprint or a court case or a mandate to the point where it can be authorized and agreed and written into the record books. Proverbs 9:1-3. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. She has prepared her food. She has mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her maidens. She calls from the top of the heights of the city. So Wisdom's Heights, is in a particular dimensional place in heaven, which gives you access to lots of other places, but there are 7 pillars there. And these pillars are places of engagement, and actually they're a little bit like Doctor Who's TARDIS, that when you step into them, they're bigger on the inside than the outside, and they have a particular function. I'm sure they've got lots more functions, but I wanted to understand what they were. Wisdom's handmaidens, which it talks about there in Proverbs 9, are again angelic beings who are equipped to help wisdom in the helping us, sons of men, in our governmental roles. So there's glory, holiness, truth, excellence, faith, life, promise. Now, there's a whole new other subject to go into that, but you can pursue and engage them yourself if you feel led. I desired to engage, so I pursued wisdom and prudence for help. Jesus said, this is what he said to me, "Dear brother, we are co-heirs, and you have my yoke upon you. So walk with me in discipleship. Let me show you some things that we are responsible for." Now, Jesus had never ever said anything like that ever to me before. So I felt this was something that was quite significant. So I followed him into some of these things in terms of responsibility to see. So we walked to Wisdom's Heights, and I engaged the first pillar of wisdom. Never been in there before, so I stepped in. And this is what Jesus said: "See, here are wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and the angels that are their representatives." Now we know the spirit of wisdom, spirit of knowledge, and spirit of understanding, what is part of the seven spirits of God. But there's also an angelic order that represents them with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And so an angel could be called that, which is not necessarily the seven spirits of God, but an angelic being that represents that area of wisdom or knowledge or understanding. So here, and of course, when there's three, it's government. So the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding forms the foundation of something governmental. And if we're going to engage wisdom's pillars to have an understanding and a development of a blueprint or a court case, then wisdom, knowledge, and understanding are absolutely key foundations that are linked to the precepts, statutes, and laws of God. So to develop a mandate into a blueprint, you need all three as the governmental foundation of authority. And this is what Jesus said to me, which is, you know, very interesting. When I sort of saw this, it was like the lights came on a little bit. The three form a window for wise counsel to function and for a blueprint to receive a seal of approval. So when you have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, then you need wise counsel, which opens the window. So three government, four window, and wise counsel joins with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to create an opportunity for counsel to take place, and therefore the blueprint gets to a stage where it can receive a seal of approval. When a blueprint is brought here, creativity is released and a pattern that forms from a vision so that our creativity can be written and expressed. So we begin to find there's creativity that begins to be birthed that gives us more of a clarity about what a blueprint is and what it's about. The essence of the seven spirits function here within the seven pillars. The first pillar is the foundation of wisdom. That is the key to knowledge and understanding. So wisdom is the key foundation that, connected to the government of knowledge and understanding, opens something up. The second pillar is knowledge. That's the key foundation of the second pillar. That is the key to understanding and counsel. Again, three, which then forms a fourth. The third pillar is understanding, which is the key to the counsel and strength. So if you see, each pillar has a different governmental foundation within the seven spirits of God, and they connect to the next to open a window for things to manifest. Okay. The fourth pillar, the foundation, is counsel, which is the key to strength and the Spirit of the Lord. The fifth pillar's foundation is strength. That is the key to the Spirit of the Lord and the spirit of the fear of the Lord. Another foundation. The sixth pillar's foundation is the Spirit of the Lord, which is the key to fear of the Lord and wisdom. So now you're getting a return back to the original. The seventh pillar's foundation is the spirit of the fear of the Lord, which is the key to wisdom and knowledge. So knowledge, understanding, counsel, and strength. That's a window for manifestation. Strength, spirit of the Lord, spirit of the fear of the Lord, and wisdom are another four, which begin to work together as a window. So there's a lot of stuff here which I began to see was a combination of the things that God was wanting to do so that we could begin to see the end and the beginning meet. So the seven spirits of wisdom, the seven pillars of wisdom, connected to the seven spirits of God, becomes a pathway for producing any type of legislation, whether it be a blueprint or anything else. So I want to look at this and look at how we can use this and how we engage it to help develop something so that it can be brought into a place where we are fully functioning in a blueprint or a mandate. So there are protocols and ways of operating when you engage with those pillars. Step into the pillar, engage with whoever greets you. One of the angels will greet you, one of the seven spirits maybe. Respond to their questions, e.g., how may I help you? Present your request for help, develop the initial concept, maybe an ecclesia blueprint or whatever it might be. You are asking for help to develop something. It could be a court case. We're using blueprints and mandates, so we're going to stick with that. So pillar one, operations. Conceptualize the revelation, a design for the blueprint. How do you conceptualize this into something that people could go? Habakkuk 2:2. Make it plain, write it out, get something down so people can run with it. It is here that we brainstorm and develop the main body of the blueprint. So revelation, help comes from wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Vision statements, identity, purpose, function, mountain spheres may all be revealed when we begin to engage here to find an increase in revelation so we can actually get something down. Pillar two, administration. We can request assignment of support personnel and resources in relation to the blueprint or the assignment that we have. That may mean that we need angels, some of the cloud of witnesses, wisdom's handmaidens, wisdom, prudence, engaging with the seven spirits so that we have all that we need to help us fulfill this area of our blueprint or mandate. Pillar three, justice, judicial protocols. In that pillar there is operations, authorizations, the application of the seals for authorization. Now, there are things there which we need to come to that, bring to an end that area within our development that says you can go to the next stage. So there's sometimes an authorization. This enables the next stages to begin once the preliminary authorization is agreed. Pillar five, jurisdiction. Revelation of the authority regarding the sphere of influence of a blueprint. Physical area or region. Maybe people group, whatever it might be directed to. This is going to give you some insight into that. You may get an initial part of the blueprint which says, here's your area, but it may expand over time to come into a physical area. So you may have a blueprint for an ecclesia that eventually matures into an embassy of heaven or a city of refuge. Pillar six, the hall of records, documentation for the proposal written into the records within this process. Pillar seven, reformation. This is where it's measured against the outworking of the results of this proposed legislation in relation to other blueprints and the bigger picture of restoration. Sometimes we need to see where our little blueprint fits into a bigger picture, where our fractal fits into a bigger picture, so that we can understand the consequences or the significance of what we're doing is not to be done in isolation. Nothing in God's kingdom is in isolation, because it must be relational with other things within the kingdom. So this gives us some insight into how this fits into perhaps the restoration of all things, or fits into what God's doing at any one particular time. So the blueprint itself, then at this stage, at this point, goes from proposal, which is what we came in for, came in with a proposal. Yeah, and in that proposal, it's gone from executable theory, in other words, here's something that's starting to work, to actual outline that is clear to be used. So I think it's better to engage these things. When you've got it at that point, you can take that blueprint, present it at the Court of Chancellors, get it authorized. If it's verified and sealed, then we can proceed and we can get it written into the statute book, the scribes, so that then we are authorized, heaven recognizes it, and we can then move forward. Now, ultimately, we want a scroll. You know, we want something which basically facilitates us being able to move forward, so that scroll we carry in our heart. When you have a blueprint which is at that point, which has been agreed, put into record books, we need it within our heart. We need to carry the authorization and the government towards it. So it's important at that point and that stage that this becomes creative within us. See, if we just have a blueprint that we refer to as a document somewhere and it isn't part of us, then we don't carry the authority for it. Heaven doesn't recognize it in us in the same way. So it's important that we take these blueprints and we see these blueprints move forward. Now, we obviously need to engage this. Now, engaging these things, maybe you've never engaged it before. It's important in this engagement that we follow a process that may take weeks, even months. You know, just because you can go into one pillar, the first pillar, and present, here's the help you need, you're not necessarily going to get the full formation of everything that first encounter. Go into the pillars, learn to engage them, see what they're like, sense them, explore them. Then when you're ready to present something, you're familiar with what happens there. And it may take the need to go back over and over and over. You may need to go into the first pillar and go back in there for several weeks for these things to take place. Then you take it into the next pillar when you're ready. Don't rush through the process. But I would say that as we're going to just engage heaven right now, and we're going to look at engaging in this way, just begin to practice, so that as you then outwork that, you'll find that you'll begin to become more mature in it. You'll understand it more. Go over it, go back into it. Don't rush is the message. You know, whenever we got a blueprint, it's important that we develop it. We don't rush it. So I'd encourage you to close your eyes. We're going to step into the open heaven, or shift the function of your spirit so you can step into that realm. So just begin to shift, engage with Jesus, who is, of course, waiting for us in the doorway. Just engage him. Present yourself to him as a living sacrifice. Now let Jesus take you by the hand. Ask him to lead you to receive a mandate or a blueprint, or to clarify it. To do that, he can take you to the ark. Perhaps engaging with the four faces of God. just receive a scroll. Now just take that scroll. Let Jesus lead you to wisdom's heights. And on wisdom's heights, the 7 pillars. Now step into the first pillar. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And here's where you can present your scroll. Now just let Jesus show you the 7 pillars. Explore those 7 pillars. Let him introduce you to the 7 spirits of God. Introduce you to the angels that are there. So that you get familiar with what goes on, what the protocols are. Here's something we can learn, that whenever we need to develop something, court case or a blueprint, here's a resource that we can go designed to help these things to be authorized and come into an agreement. And then whenever you've finished with your scroll, when it's ready to be presented, then you can take it to the Chancellor's Court and follow the process through. So just spend some time engaging with the 7 pillars. Bye.